And now it's time to preview an upcoming game.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going to a land called Tymor, who had a legendary apocalyptic event called the Sorrow that we're still recovering from. We're going to be raising up villages, trying to become the next king or queen of Tymor. Now how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to have some merchants on our side. They're going to try to make us excellent at trade. We're also going to have some priests that are going to allow us to build up our empire, build up lots of homesteads, to villages, to castles. We're also going to have some soldiers that are going to allow us to win some battles and win everybody in the valor side of things. This is what we're doing today in a game called Tymor from Montrose Games. It's actually on Kickstarter right now. It plays 2 to 4 players and it plays in 90 minutes. So let's take a look. We'll go through 4 different seasons a few different times. We'll be in different terrain, from swamps to mountains to forests, and we're going to try to, over those different difficulties, still try to come out on top. Let me show you how it's played and I'll see you on the other side. Now since this is a prototype, all the components and artwork and things are subject to change, but here we have a map set up for 4 players. It's set up per the rules. This is the basic setup for 4, and there's different map setups depending on how many players there are. Each person basically gets a village and a priest, which is one of the 3 characters, and they all start in the plains. You'll notice the gray ones here are mountains, the yellow ones are plains, then we have forests, and then we have swamps. 3 different types of terrain that will change over the different seasons. Now here is the scoreboard along with a player order board. And what you're going to be doing in this is trying to score points in 3 different tracks. So we have the trade track, and you will be gaining points here by earning gold through some of our merchants when we pretty much get gold from other players' settlements. The empire track will be getting points there using your priests to build or upgrade your own settlements. And the valor track, you'll be getting points here with your soldiers when either attacking or defending and succeeding in battle. We have the turn order here. We also have the different seasons as summer, fall, winter, and spring, and we start up here in summer there. The game is played over 4 different phases. We have season and income, player order, player turns, and victory track. Let's go through a round and show you how the game works, season and income. One player is the steward. They have the season die, which is green. If it's a new round, this would have been passed to the next player on the left, and they roll this die. Now on a 1 through 4, it moves clockwise 1, so now we are in fall. If it's a 5, it doesn't do anything, and if it's a 6, it goes 1 counterclockwise. So right now we're in fall. Now in this case you'd get income. Now you can see this, the way this is laid out is the same way that this is laid out here. It's summer, fall, winter, spring. Since we're in fall, anywhere that somebody has a settlement like this is a village, like that, you would get that amount of income. So this person would get 4 income, and it looks like everybody starts with that in the beginning here. So everyone would receive 4 income. And they would just keep onto this into their hand, and they could use that for later things. But let's say in this case, the red player has a merchant figure, which is there, and he's in a settlement from the blue player. Now that player would have collected 1 income on this swamp tile this turn, so that red player also would have collected 1 from that, and they also would get to go up on the trade track. So in this case, the red player would have been able to go up 1 on the trade track here. And after that, everyone's been able to do that. You go to player order. The person who was the steward, who rolled that season die at the beginning of the round, gets to fix the player order any way they see fit. They may want to make themselves first earlier in the game so they can go off and explore, but later in the game it might be better to be last to see what's going on with the battles or things like that. Then we're going to go into player turns. In order, each person in turn order is going to pay upkeep, do some unit actions, and make some purchases. Let's talk about each of those. Paying upkeep is, let's say the red player's turn. Let's say he has 2 guys out on the entire map, and he only has 1 income, $1 left here. He would spend this, and because he's 1 short, he would have to remove 1 of these guys from the map and take a penalty token, which is worth minus points at the end of the game. Now, let's say he had 4 guys out there, and he was 2 short. He would have to take 2 guys off. So for every $1 that you're short, you got to take that many people off the map there, and you get 1 penalty token if you have to take anybody off. In the unit action phase, for each unit that I have, you can either take 1 basic move or 1 special move for each one of these unit types. Now the basic move is the same for all 3 types of characters, the priests, the soldiers, and the merchants. I have a red priest here. Let's say it's red's turns. When doing a basic move, you can move to any adjacent tile as long as it's not there's not a rival's soldier or priest or settlement there. So he could not move here, here, or here. If this is blank, he obviously can move there. This is a merchant. The merchant is the only place that he could move from with an opponent's character there. He could go where the merchant is, or where it's blank, or where their own people are. But they could not go to the settlement, the soldier, or the priest of any of the adjacent opponents. Now the priest's special actions are building and upgrading settlements. So there's no settlement here. He could build a homestead there, and it would basically just be 2 gold, and he would do that there. And for each priest that builds or upgrades, they get to move up 1 in the empire track. Now let's say a subsequent turn of the red player, he can upgrade this settlement, this homestead, to a village. So he'd take this off, he put that there, and that would cost him 5 gold, and he'd move up on the track again, and now we have 2 villages. Now let's say on another future turn, he could now that he has at least 2 villages, he can upgrade one of those to a castle. And that's $10 to upgrade, and then again he'd move up the empire track. Now the merchants, let's say it's the blue merchants player, the merchant special actions, they can move to any adjacent place, even if the adjacent has opponent settlements or any of the characters. He can just move there no matter who is there, and that's his special action. Now special action for soldiers, they can move in to an adjacent region that has opponents, people, and or settlements there, and basically now attack. Now we have 3 blue soldiers there, a red priest, and a red castle. So when attacking, soldiers always get 1 red die equal all the time, automatically, without any special cards needing. And the priests are going to get 1 defense die, and the castle actually gets 2 defense die because it's a big castle. Now, like merchants and stuff, sometimes they need extra cards to even get dice. And when even priests are attacking, they need special cards. We'll go over special cards later, but this is how many dice you'd get. When rolling for battle, we look at the player aid here, and we see the 4 different seasons in the battle targets. And if you remember, we are in fall this round. So we look at the fall one, and we see a red 5 and a black 4. Well, the red attack dice, what this means is for every 5 or above you roll, you get to damage and hit the opponent. For the black dice, the defense, anything 4 or above, you get to also do damage to the attacker. So looking at this, we see the red dice, we have 1 die that's 5 or above, and same for the black, we have 1 die that's 4 or above. So each of them are going to do 1 hit. Now it's interesting to note that looking at these 4 seasons here, sometimes it's easier to attack or defend. For example, winter months, you only need a 3 or above to defend, so it's easiest to defend in winter. Where summer, for example, it's easiest to attack. You only need a 4. So depending on the seasons, you might want to you might want to attack or defend depending on that. In this case, each lost them, and the defense always loses a character before the settlement. So each one of these guys, they get to choose which one is gone, and then the attacker could decide if he wants to keep attacking. And he does, and let's say he rolls a 5 and a 4, and defense is 2 and 1. So we have 1 attack hit and no defense hit. And when attacking a settlement, if it gets 1 hit, it goes down on its side, and now the castle only has 1 defense die left. And we just rolled again, we have a 5 and a 4, so now the castle is now attacked and gone. So the attacker's won the battle. He gets to replace the other castle with his own castle. And since he won the battle, he will go up 1 on the Valor track. So now we're going to go on to making purchases, and you can purchase cards, units, or retire rival merchants. Let's look at those. Now there's cards for each of the tracks, the trade, the empire, and the valor. You could buy up to 3 cards on your turn, and then you can only hold up to 7 cards, and they do certain things. Let's take a closer look. And let's look at some valor cards, for example. They help you attack. So with this commander, for the entire round, one of your priests may attack like a soldier, and during one battle roll 1 extra die. Or maybe it's the pitchforks, which during one battle roll, one of your settlements may roll 1 extra die. So it's things like that that help you with attacking. Now into the empire, for example, we have a smuggler. During your turn, one of your merchants and up to 1 other unit in its hex may move 2 hexes together, even if the first hex contains any rival or unit. So it's allowing you to move kind of specially. And we have a surveyor. During your turn, one of your soldiers may build or upgrade like a priest. A homestead may be built with this card at no cost. And then we have sort of the merchant way of going up is a colonist. During your turn, one of your merchants may build or upgrade like a priest. A homestead may be built with this card at no cost. And let's look at the last one here, wolves. During your turn, retire 1 rival merchant in any hex at no cost. So different things that allow you to bend the rules. Now building units, essentially it's training up and bringing new characters in. Now the level 1 settlement, which is a homestead, cannot do this. The level 2, which is sort of the village, they can only bring in 1 new unit, and it's $2 per unit. So he could bring in basically a priest, a merchant, or a soldier. The castles can bring up to 2 different characters, or the same characters, and pay 2 for each of those. So they could pay up to 4 and bring in and train 2 new people to put there. Now, retiring a rival merchant, now this red player could pay 3 gold to retire this merchant from my settlement there. So I'd pay 3 gold, this guy would come off, and that other player now would also get a penalty token, which is minus points at the end of the game. At the end of the round, meaning every player has gone through all those actions that I just stated in turn order, we look at the victory track, and as soon as all 3 of them have been reached, 3 top, doesn't matter who reached the 3 of them, the game ends, and we count up the points for each of the tracks for each of the players, and then each of those players also minus 1 point for each of these penalty tokens they have, and the one who has the most points is the king or queen of Tymor. All right, well, there is Tymor, and as I mentioned, this is on Kickstarter right now, and as you can tell, it's a balancing act between which tracks are you gonna focus on. Are you gonna focus on the merchants and the trading and trying to get up that track, or are you going to just move around with priests and try to move up your empire, or you just take those the military guys and move around and just collapse other people's castles and take those over that way? Which way are you gonna go? Which cards are you gonna get? Which one's gonna help you? So there's a balancing act as to what you want to do, which feels a little bit more like a Euro game. But the thing is obviously as you're affecting each other, there's quite a lot of interaction between the other players in that right. And so if this looks interesting to you, with all the different seasons going around and different things are better to do in different seasons, and different terrain are better at certain things in different seasons, and having all those things with a little bit of luck mitigated with the rolling the dice for the battling, depending on how many people you have there, and using cards. And if this sort of thing seems interesting to you, I'm sure the guys at Montrose Games would love your support. Just after this video, right below me is going to be a link to go right to their Kickstarter page, and I'm sure they would love your support.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.